So there we are. So
talking of nesting sites, and on a number of occasions on this programme, we've been to a big supermarket just south of Norwich to have a look at the swallows and the house martins nesting there in the season, and enjoyed the sight of them flying backwards and forwards. But I think we've got some news on that, haven't we, Chris?
Yes, we have. I got a couple of phone calls last Friday, and I can mention the store because I arranged over the weekend to meet the store manager there, and we got on quite well, and he explained the situation. And you're quite right, over the last 2 or 3 years we've been to the local Tesco store at Harford Bridges, and we've enjoyed and sort of broadcast the fact from the car park that there are swallows nesting there. So about 6 years ago the first pair nested there, and I didn't tell you, so that wasn't unusual. And then the next year we had 3 pairs nesting, and the year after that, which was about 4 years, 3-4 years ago, I invited you along because I was so excited because it's a public building. It's right next to the car park, and you'd have children in your pushchair, and you can actually see all the young swallows in the eaves of the building. So the swallows aren't in the building, they're outside the building in a lean-to. There is a problem because that is where the trolleys are stored in a long row, and sadly, and I do understand this, there were some complaints about swallow poo on the trolley handles and in the little seats that the children sit in. Now, this is hugely sad. The store, you know how competitive it is between various supermarkets. There's a lot of competition, and Tesco is a business. They don't want to lose their customers, so they have netted off the access. They've used a mesh. They've had a pest control company come in, and they've meshed the whole lot off so the swallows can't get there. Now, that's the manager didn't think there was a problem with that. He said, well, they can nest around the other side of the store, but as I know my swallows very well indeed, and quite intimately, all of them, the ones that nest at Iash Farm, they've been there since I was a child, the swallows will fly into the mesh, and some of them might get caught in there. So it's very fine mesh, and they can actually get caught. But the sad thing is they cannot now access that nest site.
And the swallows always go back to the same place.
Exactly so, to the same side of the building. They might move a few yards because their children, their offspring from the previous year, will fly back. Now, bearing in mind they're come down from South Africa, right down Johannesburg where the gold mines are. They've come up through Africa. I don't know how they do it because I'm just back from that region, Central Africa. I'm sort of going further south each time to just get a feel of the distance. It's 5,000 miles and 1,500 miles of that journey across the Sahara. How they come across that area, I don't know. Come across the Mediterranean, up through France. Some will sphere off into Germany, Denmark, Holland. Some will come to the southern UK, obviously France, go up to Scotland where they might just bring off 1 brood. Here in Norfolk they can bring off 2 broods or even 3. But now what happens is the swallows cannot access that site, and they won't breed this year. So what happens, the female swallows reabsorb the eggs. They just won't breed. It's like moving a bee colony, if you like, and any beekeepers that know, if you're going to move your beehives, you cannot move it 20 yards or 30 yards or 500 yards. The bees will go back to where the hive was.
What happens, though, if these birds get caught in those nets?
That's the trouble. Well, Tesco has obviously consulted a leading bird organisation like the RSPB, and it is not illegal to put up netting as long as it isn't in the nesting season. And we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from the nesting season, so they're just scraped in from that. And obviously you can't interfere with nesting birds like swallows in the nesting season. So if I took Tesco to court for doing this, I would lose the case, and so I'm not going to do that. But I'm sort of going to ask our listeners who enjoy swallows and enjoy the birds, and particularly if you've visited the Harford site, because we've patted them on the back for several years, as you know, as that's good stewardship, if you like. This is what farmers are asked to do in the food chain, because the next step beyond that is to ban swallows from flying around in fields and pooing on your broccoli. You know, it gets that ridiculous if you you do that. So I would appeal to the court of human common sense that if you're interested in birds, and you could write to Tesco's headquarters, which is where the jurisdiction to cover the nest sites over with mesh is possible. But there's an alternative. We've only got 2 to 3 weeks left to do it in, and that's just to put boards underneath all the nesting sites. So it's the baby swallows that cause the poo for the first 6 to 7 days when baby swallows just hatch from the eggs. The parents carry the poo away 50, 60 yards in their beaks. They're in little cellophane packs, if you like, and they will drop that as they fly away and then bring more food back. But it's when the young swallows are about 8 to 10 days old, they instinctively reverse over the side of the nest and they poo down on the ground, little white droppings, and that's what's caused the problem.
So the boards you're talking about could be put up so the birds could still go underneath the eaves of this public building
and actually visit their nest sites. The public could still see them. That's all. You can take your 4-year-old in a pushchair or whatever, squealing and squeaking, whatever children do when they get in the trolleys, and you can actually see these birds. The fantastic thing is they've come from South Africa. They've spent, because there's no flying insects in the UK over the winter months to feed them on, they purely eat and catch flying birds. It's a wonderful sight down at Tesco's down there because it's near the river. You've got marshes all round, you've got flying insects, and the colony is built up and up and up and up, and now they can't come back because of us. That's human activity, and I'd sort of say it's very questionable. But so the court of human common sense needs to apply in this case, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a result for you in future weeks.
We've got the sports news very shortly, but a couple of minutes now.